10:02, we'll call this meeting to order. Everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Beecham for the invocation.
Pray with me, please. Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come before you this morning as a humble people in need of your guidance and of your salvation grace, Lord. And we just pray for the thoughts and actions of this Commissioner's Court, Lord, that we would do your will through our county, Lord, that we would lead in an appropriate way, Lord, with your guiding hand upon us, Lord. Lord, we ask your guiding hand on our military and on our first responders, Lord, and Lord, that you just be with them and protect them, and Lord, just watch over them each and every day. Lord, we pray for your healing rains, Lord. I know there's rains in the forecast later this week. Lord, we pray that we would have those rains on our area, Lord, to quench this area that's so need, Lord. We just love you, and we thank you for loving us, Lord. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. In his name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. I'll join in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take seats, please.
Excuse me, Judge. You've asked me to be at a meeting tonight. I'm in mental health. As soon as I get out of mental health, I'll be here.
Okay, we hope you get better.
Did you want me to close these doors? Or?
It's an open meeting.
Yeah. Depends on who shows up.
Yeah. Who starts in the office. Okay. If I could ask the court to take action on the consent agenda, please.
I'd like to look at item number 11.
Okay, what about it?
It's not a precinct 1 vehicle.
Commissioner Harvey said it was.
It's not a precinct 1 vehicle.
Whose is it?
That I don't know. I've tried to determine that this morning without much luck. We do have one invoice from Texoma Trailer and Body that does not match that invoice. Let me pull that one up.
He swore by that truck.
Well, we better put a brush guard on anything.
And that's what it says?
It's for a brush guard and a dump bed coverage.
Precinct 2? One.
We got the last truck, but that's...
Do you think that's a wrong invoice from Texoma?
That definitely doesn't match anything that we've got, so...
Did you get a copy of that bill?
This is what I got from Rach. She had precinct 2 crossed out. She said she'll be here tonight.
What's the description? Does it have a truck description?
It's got a dump
body, cart, bash roller bar installed. The truck that we had does not have a dump body.
Heavy-duty running boards,
Last bar.
Coleman's grill guard.
I have an invoice from them, invoice number 7041, dated March 2nd, for $5867.50.
It's sent to Donald Farmer.
Yeah, but then auditors on scratched it out and go precinct 1.
Per vendor.
It's not mine.
Okay. Call down and ask Karen to pull that invoice and not send that check until we get that straight. But
This invoice is dated.
wait a minute, there shouldn't be a check with that. This is approving it, so it shouldn't be there yet.
Well, but this invoice is from January the 18th.
Yeah, it's to amend the order.
Have we already paid it for precinct 2?
I'm thinking that's what sounds familiar about it. Okay, let's just remove item 11 until we...
Okay.
Sort that out.
Who's going to, Commissioner Beecham, will you follow through on that, please?
Yes, I will. And
That's her.
item 14 for clarification, did we receive additional requests from Mr. Gregg for reimbursement of beyond the requests that I was aware of?
Yes.
What, and I'm not seeing 14.
Right above general business.
Yeah, mine stops at 13.
Didn't get them minute one.
There was a last minute submission when we did
Is there
that.
a double revised?
No, there shouldn't be. This one has it. There was this one.
I said, I saw the revised one, I was like, hey, this is me.
I don't have a revised one. I didn't copy
You
it.
do or don't?
I don't, I didn't copy it down either. Print it off. But there was a revised one came out.
Yeah, I'm in the revised agenda packet. That's why I'm saying, is there a revised?
Oh,
Yeah, because I just printed the revised this morning.
Apparently there is, you would have it. Still that truck, I think that might be that truck that I got patching. And it says the tarp deal on it, it's got to have a dump bed on it.
Yeah.
That was the last truck I
So,
got.
like that, so,
Well, I showed you.
Yeah.
You know, I showed you.
Yeah, it's in your-
Yeah, it's in mine.
Well, what, I mean, did these just decide to turn them in once?
No, he turned them in quite some time ago. They were being reviewed, and then when that flood happened in Deb's office, they've had to recreate a bunch of those documents, and that's what they've gone through and found that. So that's why that was, delay wasn't that. That's, the reason it's on there is that it's past the time that it should have been paid from the submission. And so we wanted to go, be sure the court approved that since it was beyond that time frame. Otherwise, it's department approval, and I would have approved that. And had sent it over there, and that just happened in that dilemma of that, so several things got put behind from the normal progress.
Motion to approve consent agenda, Judge, with
Remove
the
item.
removal of item 11.
For a second.
Second.
I went to right now to hear that from some vendor. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Waller, second by Commissioner Harvey to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 11. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Item number 1, review and approve the irregular bills for payment.
Motion to approve regular bills for payment, Judge.
Yeah, second that.
I have asked the treasurer not to remove those. I had some I had pulled Friday, and so they're out. So we need to, that's kind of a change. Mr. Hampton's efficient in getting those, but we need to slow his efficiency down. And have those not leave until if we had any, we had to pull. If that one had been a bill this morning that we wanted pulled, but that's approval to go to a bill, so to correct that bill. All right. Any other comments? All in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss and review the jail maintenance projects. Chief?
I didn't print that off, but there were no open work orders as of Friday that I saw. I think they're coming this week to work on the ATS. Is that correct, Mr. Beecham?
Yes.
Okay. And that's all we had on that. I know in the past, the sheriff asked if we could review these, instead of every week, every other week. Do you recall that, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Can we move that to the every other Wednesday when we do the overtime or the payroll?
Payroll?
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with that.
What's that?
Moving this report to every other Wednesday when we do payroll, then it would just fall on that schedule.
Is that fine with y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause normally there's not anything open. I know here recently we had the water issue, we had the electric problem downstairs, so anything major like that we would bring, if it needs to be ahead of time, we would talk about it ahead of time in open discussion.
there was a humidity problem.
It still is at the annex.
How do we have that? We have 7% humidity.
Too much water going through there. The moisture, all the showers, toilets, drinking, there's just so much water, so much. I don't guess I realize it when I walk in there. I mean, but there is that much humidity that's what's affecting a lot of the problems.
Well, should we do a scheduling thing on the showers so we're not, maybe there's a chance for the,
I believe they are on schedule. I don't know exactly how it's set up.
On my return there at my shop, I put a dehumidifier on.
And we do have those. We have several dehumidifiers. I'm not sure how many we have, but
You wouldn't believe, it's got a half-inch PVC drain comes off of it. You would not believe the water that's in that air.
Yeah.
That thing sucks up. And it's not in a big shower deal, I mean,
Yeah.
just from my chemicals.
when we did the abatement on the 8 side, that's what they said. They needed to either more dehumidifiers or work on that to get that problem taken care of. Because that's what was causing the mold in the 8 side.
okay, we're working on that then.
I'll check with Lieutenant Spears to see where we are on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments on item 2? Thanks, sir. Item 3 is to receive reports on autopsies from Justice Speaks. Was that supposed to be Joe's sons?
She said
Well, she's having mental health issues right now.
Yeah,
That's what she said.
hearings, I think. is what she
Oh,
said.
here.
If somebody just picked that up, Judge, and read that and received reports on autopsies from justices of the peace, it makes it sound like, I guess it could have been 4 justices of the peace. Like, what happened?
I think they were real disappointed in the 3 days I pulled for them. There was only one, and it was a hospital death, and handled it all by phone. So,
Oh,
I'd be curious to see what our numbers are. I haven't checked, but.
why don't we go ahead and we'll move down to any public comments. We'll take those. So,
Idea.
Chris, do you have anything? No? Okay. Just kidding.
no, Jeff, you don't.
Yeah, no, sir, Jeff.
Okay.
That's gonna follow you, you realize that, don't you? I mean, that just doesn't go away overnight.
Well, he started telling the girls at the bars his name's Chris.
There you go. That
Yeah,
just
that's the
doesn't,
story we're going with.
that doesn't go away.
Well, when you were saying you were Lee Harvey, you weren't doing any good. were you?
No.
You're half the man I thought you were.
I gotta tell y'all one on that. My dad went in for the hospital for some treatment as they were kind of taking him there, and he's 40 senior. And the nurse even said to him, you look a whole lot younger on TV than you do right now. He said, I know everybody tells me that. Just left it alone.
He didn't tell her?
No.
Never told them.
All right, Commissioner Beecham.
I have nothing, sir.
Commissioner Harvey.
Had a great time at the Pumpkin Center Volunteer Fire Department Saturday. We did about 200 people, raised about $6,000, about fuel, tires, bunker gear, all that stuff that those fire departments use. Had a good turnout, had a good silent auction. Commissioner Watts come and helped us cook. Had a pretty good turnout.
Commissioner Muller?
Yep, he showed up.
I sampled.
He sampled.
That good calf fries were good.
Yeah, but I saw you over there with them brownies too. I saw you.
Just once.
This coming Saturday, we're gonna be doing a fundraiser for the Heath Hodges Memorial Scholarship Fund in Iowa Park at the high school. They told me this morning to order food for 1,000 people. So I said, okay. So that'll be a good turnout. And what they're doing, Heath was always involved with those kids, whether in Sunday school or 4-H, FFA. They're going to do multiple scholarships, depending on how much money they raise. Do multiple scholarships for the kids there in Iowa Park.
I think this was his graduating class that's doing this. I think the ones that are
Yeah.
doing that right.
Heath Goldson and
Yeah.
Luke
Armas.
Armas. The Redneck Culinary Academy is going to cook for him.
What time is that going to be?
It's from 5 to 8.
There's those auction items and
Yeah.
Yeah, they got 60 auction items right now.
Good.
Good ones. I mean, I can't believe they come up with all that stuff, but they did.
good.
Okay, Commissioner Wall.
Judge, we really dodged a bullet this weekend with the weather conditions we had. I tell you, our fire departments were on their tiptoes because it could have really got bad. You could smell the smoke from fires. They say some of that smoke we were smelling was from as far away as Clinton, Oklahoma. That is a long way.
Sayre.
Sayre, anyway.
On the highway, up on I-40.
I-40, well, that's in that same area, but just incredible. I was talking to the manager over at Producer Jim over at Elliott this morning. He said they had to shut down because traditionally, if the relative humidity outside is 50-60%, it's about 8 to 10 in that gym because of all that fiber. He said it got so low this weekend they had to shut down because just walking across the floor would make sparks. And they were afraid they were going to set it on fire, and they'd already had a trash pile fire. That's how critical that deal got, but we're so fortunate that we didn't have any more damage than we did. It could have got really ugly Saturday afternoon. I don't know that I've ever seen the wind blow sustained like that, but I've got a big high line going through my place, and those old big cables were moving Saturday afternoon. It's pretty scary stuff. So anyway, just appreciate all our volunteer fire department and our professional firefighters for standing by and being ready. They're always there to help us, which is why it's so important to go to one of these fundraisers for one of these volunteer departments because they do a tremendous service to Wichita County. But other than that, we got through it, so that's a good thing.
Where you been?
Missed you. Office. Multitasking.
Okay.
We're done.
Commissioner Watts.
Again, great time at Pumpkin Center on Saturday. It was just, despite the coolness of the weather, it still had a good turnout. I never did hear what they did. Did you?
6,000.
Oh, that's pretty good. So
Good.
that was great. Joy had their fire fish fry the same evening that night, and they have a big auction and to do down at Joy, south in Clay County. And so anyway, there was a lot going on Saturday. Look forward to this coming Saturday as well, and I think there'll be a good cross section of things to do. And I guess we're underway with patching as fast as we can all that stuff that'll get single coat surfaced here in the next little bit. Our guys are moving relatively quick, and the water district come and moved the rest of the dirt off the waterway for us. They had a need, and they came out and did that. Lee, were you able to get a hold of Brian Moore with TxDOT?
Yes, and he wants us to bring our front end loader and our dump trucks out there and haul it off.
Does he have a place to set it there? Or?
Yeah, we would windroll it.
You're not closer? Oh, he just windrowed it.
Yeah, we just got to get rid of it. But
What are you talking about?
always got some good clean dirt, good dirt.
Where is it?
It's on I-44, exit 14.
I'll say I need
Is that
some, but
north of Burke, exit 14?
It's the last exit going into Oklahoma.
I need some, but it's a little far away.
For cleaning any ditches and have any good dirt, we can sure use it at the OEC side.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Now,
That's-
Mark, there is some dirt out at, in our rider program that is on 79, right there close to LEC.
Where the millings generally are?
Yeah, where the millings generally are, there's a kind of a bunch of sorted piles, but the front pile about nearly 400 yards of material right there. We can sure,
Scoop it and take it
and
over.
it's
Scoop that over
close,
there.
you know, it's just across the highway.
Well, if it's good clean dirt, we can haul it in our belly dumps too, which will sure
Yeah.
speed things up.
Need to be sure where we put that is the right place, though.
Yeah.
We don't have to move it again.
Down on the west end,
Yeah,
the low side.
yeah. The only thing you gotta look at, you all put out a schedule, and if you divert to haul, then that's gonna probably revise that paving schedule, so.
Oh, we
It's
won't,
400 yards over there.
we won't let that get, we won't let that get in the way.
Okay,
No.
yeah, 400 yards is
Yeah, if we roll everything, you could do it pretty quick.
one day.
Yeah, I mean, it's just across the highway.
You run the courthouse, we'll run the dump trucks.
Probably one more of those than you ever thought.
You probably forgot. I did not know that you were in the rollover in the big truck. That was kind of an interesting story.
Among other accidents.
You need to get a cab one day, we'll talk about it.
That would be a ride that I would not want to go through.
Among other things.
Waiting for the justice.
I do have, Judge and Margaret told me this morning to visit about and set up for if need be. I am doing weekly invoices for my little lady that cleans at the precinct in Electra.
Yeah.
And I'm wanting to put that on a monthly invoice, and what I'd like her to do is turn in for me in the front of the month, the invoice for the month. And Margaret said I may need to put that as an agenda item on. I just didn't want to turn in an invoice at the end of the month and then wait another 30 days for.
Well, but you can't pay her in advance.
Well, she said we could if we did a court order.
Okay,
But I don't know that it's actually in advance. She would turn in her invoice the front of the month and then pay her a couple of weeks.
well, if you pay her for any of those weeks before she does the service, you're paying her in advance.
And that's why I may need on the agenda.
Well, certainly if you make it an item, it'll go on the agenda, but I don't think that's good practice. Yeah.
What do you want, what are you trying to
Trash
accomplish?
bills, Judge. All of our trash bills are paid in advance.
Yeah, I think there's an exception on trash, telephone bills paid in advance. But generally speaking, for the kind of services like that, you know,
What are you trying to accomplish?
Just pay her.
not have her wait as long.
Yeah, and I'm turning every week handwritten invoices for the cleaning. I want to wait from that. I want to turn in a monthly invoice. I just hate to delay her 60 days.
That's what it is 60 days?
Well, if she turns in at the end of the month, she cleans 4 weeks, turns the bill in, we have 30 days from the time the invoice is submitted to pay the bill.
Yep.
Now, what you might ask them to do is, could they move that one more rapidly, and so you wouldn't be waiting that long. But if you want to do it the other way, then put it on as an item.
Okay. Let me talk to her and see what she wants to do.
Okay. Okay. We could go ahead and do budget discussions until Judge Sons comes in and gives us that briefing. They were just general discussions. Commissioner, you gave us a document, Commissioner Watts did on Friday, and I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at that over the weekend to do anything with it or not. I didn't. I did it in my weekend carry away. And
Yeah, it's just kind of stuff to.
do you want to just go ahead and give us an overview of where you're headed?
Yes, let me see, Judge, if I've got.
You got your copy?
Yes.
All right. Come on
Lower the average IT and age and might actually raise others.
Make a motion that we postpone our autopsy update until next Monday, or Friday. Ain't no telling how long she's gonna be in there on those hearings.
No, but those are every Monday, or, you know, we move it to Friday.
Well, just whenever she's available.
I'd really, why don't we check with her and see, you know, we just take no action on it, they don't have a motion for it.
Okay.
But,
Okay, let's look here out now, Judge.
okay.
No, I give out these, just a first draft, copies on. Do you have it, Nancy? Let me send this to you so you got it. Okay, and I thought about more of what Willie was saying. We talked about implementation. Now this one, what our current...
What's the name of it? There's a name for what you're talking about.
Personal time off.
PTO.
And what is our current wait period?
Okay, right now, when you come to work, you accrue sick leave when you start that first month. You'll get have vacation, it's set aside, but you can't collect on either vacation until you've been here 6 months. But at 6 months, you do have accrued.
So you're accruing it also when you start?
When you start, but if you leave prior to 6 months, you have nothing in your vacation bank. But at 6 months and 1 day, you have 42 hours.
Okay, okay. And I'm not opposed to the, this just assumed that there would be a 90-day window of time prior to starting the eligibility clock. And so then it's request that PTO time be submitted at least 2 weeks to department head prior. Of course, there's last minute emergencies that would override that. And then what this does is provide to county employees 120 hours of paid time off annually. And it's a combination of time.
Now, when you say paid time, that's vacation and sick leave?
It's, that all goes away, that terminology.
Okay, so it's 120 hours with holidays and everything?
No, holidays,
Okay.
separate story. We still
Okay,
get
that's
our
what I was trying
other
to get at.
13
Okay,
holiday.
okay. That's paid time per year?
Mhm.
Okay, does any of it carry over from 1 year to the next?
None. It resets each January 1st. It is, the calculation is the number of eligibility days in a calendar year. For example, the 90-day employee, let's say he starts January the 1st. Well, the number of days that remain in the calendar year at the start date of eligibility would be divided by 365 days and multiplied by 120 to round out to the nearest hour of PTO earned.
I think one of the big challenges that we've had with accruing vacation time, and which is a little bit about what got this discussion started, is when we're in a critical situation in our jail as far as staffing is concerned, and it's extremely difficult to get that stuff burned off. Chief, is that I would assume that would still be the case. That was one of the challenges that we were up against. If it goes away on an annual basis, you know, you've got to keep that stuff burned off, and that's pretty hard to do sometimes when you're really short. And like I say, I assume that's still the scenario.
Currently, currently the way it is, if someone takes off until we get at least back to the 111, and preferably more than that, when someone takes off at the 111, we can run the jail. But currently, when someone takes off, you got to pay that person the time off, and we had to pay a second person to fill that slot at time and a half.
Yeah.
So it's costing us 2.5 times their wages. Until we get our numbers up closer to over the 111 and get them up more than that, then at that point, if someone takes off, we don't have to hire somebody to come back and fill that position. So yes, it is critical with the number of hours. Also in the future, you know, it's a, I guess it's a benefit that we look at when you go to work anywhere. You know, if you're going to work 120 hours of PTO a year, or do you get to accumulate over a period of time, you will see some employees have no time, no vacation, no sick time. Well, those are the ones who are abusing the time. The ones who have the 480 hours max sick time, obviously they're not abusing their time off, so
yeah. Now
you want to penalize them just like everybody else, the ones who abuse the sick time. So when we give that's a hiring factor when we hire these guys, that, you know, if you come to work for us, you can get your time, and you can accumulate time. So,
of course,
what happens to your good employee that has a major medical problem and eats up 3 weeks and is major medical and has a vacation?
Truly, and you know, at the 480 hours, we're talking about a little over 6 weeks. You know, so 12 weeks, I guess, of pay, right? 40 hours, 80 hours or 2 week pay period. So almost five pay periods. So 2.5 months, almost to 3 months, and you're out of time. You know, we have an officer now that is out of time because he is sick, and he's a good officer, been here for probably 12 or 15 years, and he's used his time that he accumulated, all his sick time, all his vacation time, and now he's out of time. So he's depending on whatever he can do to make it, make ends meet. So that is a good employee. So we are, in a way, penalizing that good employee by just giving them 120 hours a year.
But we offer disability policies. They could.
Yes, sir. I knew that. I don't know if he had that.
Yeah.
I did personally carry that disability. Yeah. So.
Well, I think the overall goal is to solve this problem, which, accumulating those vast blocks of time is a big liability for this county. And that it can be a shock to your budget because a lot of times you don't have that budgeted. And whenever.
But if that person's using that time should be, it'd be their person. They're using that time, and had they been at work, we'd still be paying them.
When that time is accumulated, do we not bank that time automatically?
Today, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, does it not? Well, if you accumulate an hour of vacation time, do we not bank that hour's worth of money in an account somewhere? So it's not a.
No.
Why would we not?
Well, yeah, it's just a function. It's a function of their salary, Mark.
It's written into the budget, I would assume, on the salary line. Wouldn't that?
Why would it not go into a bank so it's not a shock? So we kept it wherever. The cash can be set at any point. But the money is already set aside when you've accrued that hour. That hour is already put in the bank.
Well, but it is when you budget payroll.
Increase the amount that you're budgeting.
Okay, but our policy says when someone leaves and they've got 3 weeks vacation, you can't replace them until that's taken out, so the money's banked.
Yeah, from that
Now,
standpoint.
Judge, I know that's what we've been doing, but does our policy say that?
Yes. We used to have an exception for law enforcement, and we took that out, because in 2011, we paid everybody up. We got the books even. And we had a problem, though, that a lot of people were hitting the max vacation, but they were going ahead and adding to it. When you hit
comp time is what we,
well, it's not supposed to be.
You hit max and it's over.
You don't
It goes off.
it's nothing, it's not comp time, it's not
Well,
anything on vacation.
at that time, we paid out all the comp time.
Yeah.
We just zeroed out comp time, is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, everything we owed, we paid up. It was
Yes.
better than $1 million to try to get this down where it was manageable, and then the idea was you would use it up. Now, in your all's case, yeah, we might be paying 2.5 to 1 for that position to be filled.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so,
Yeah, that's the way we are, currently have to do it in the jail until we get more staffing in the jail.
Yeah.
We're just stuck at that, 2.5 to 1 for someone to work, if they take time off,
yeah.
so.
Which compounds the problem even greater.
Pardon me?
It compounds the problem
Yes, sir,
even
it does.
greater.
It just keeps, it's a domino effect on the budget.
We jumped up to 462, what's today's number? Did we have a party get busted something? What happened?
I don't know. I noticed that this morning too, that the numbers were up.
That was a pretty good jump.
It's been slowly hitting the 450s,
Yeah.
mid 450s. Now we hit the 460s again. And it's been going on for about 10 days now. It's been on the slide upward.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Raid on the campfire golf tournament or something.
Yeah, that been it. For abusing the course, yeah.
So there are lots of places where the PTO concept is used. In fact, I think it's becoming more and more common from what I'm understanding, and
Who's gonna tag team you? Thank you.
it's got some advantages, but some challenges also. And a lot of people are going with a straight PTO, no holidays or anything else. And it really works good on some of the 24/7 operations, like the hospitals on it. If they're under the same scenario we're in that jail, they're required to operate 24/7, and somebody's got to be there.
I heard a while ago y'all was talking about the change or whatever in that law enforcement policy. I don't remember seeing that change.
It's
When
not
did that
in
change?
there. It's been removed out of there. And I can't tell you when, Chief, that happened.
Okay.
But I was looking for that, something caused me to look at that, and it's no longer in there.
Yeah. So, okay.
And generally speaking, you all can't fill them that fast because of all the procedures you've got to go through. It sounded good, but it really in the equity of how it works by background checks, all that, you're usually 30 days on somebody, especially jail person.
At least.
No, I can't remember why. I was just looking through there, and
Yeah.
I can't tell you consciously when that changed.
I want to
Yes.
make sure we're clear. What is it, now you're proposing that it cannot carry over from year to year? It has to, it would be 120 hours between the sick and the vacation, and it cannot carry over.
Is that what you want, Jeff?
On vacation, I mean, on the paid time off, this is just our first draft of, like what we have right now is accrued time, sick, vacation.
And you want to do away with that and just make it 120 hours between the both?
Yeah, it would be, the way it's drafted today, 120 hours for everything, not including your 13 days of holiday.
Okay.
Be 120 to include, that's sick and vacation together. but it's only good for 12 months.
Well, see, the problem with that is, there's more people in the sheriff's office. The task that we perform, if those people are rushing towards the end of the year to get rid of those hours, it's not gonna happen. There's too many tasks at hand to do. You can't let that many people off to burn off that time. Why should we just turn around and give you those days that we've earned?
But Cryback employs 4 times as many people. They're able to pull it off in a 12-month period.
That's Cryback. It's not Wichita County Sheriff's Office. It's totally different deal. We do totally different tasks. But we're like, basically like doctor on call 24/7.
I think
It's not gonna happen.
I think that was Derek's problem too, because we paid him for all of his vacation time when he left.
Well, that goes back to supervision on that time. You guys,
That's our biggest problem is we're not tracking that time in the same throughout the entire county. We have everybody coming, doing different things, and we come to this end of employment.
and Derek's no longer here, and we have new supervision.
We heard last week that it took 2 days to audit an employee, an out audit on their remaining time.
That's because the supervisor and people did not keep good records.
Well,
That's where our problem is.
and let's be clear, this is not intended to be an 11th month deal. It has to be managed throughout the 12 months. That's going to be a little hard to initiate early on, but as you get the system up and running, you're going to have to kind of, you can't run down to the last 30 days and then everybody take off. That's not the goal of the deal. That's not how it works. It won't work that way. It won't work that way for any
In
department.
January, he misses 3 weeks, then
Yeah.
he doesn't get a vacation that year, period. You just, he's a good employee, great, fantastic guy, best employee you've got.
That's right.
And he's planning on going on summer vacation for a week, and you just told him, no, sorry, you can't go.
Why would you tell him he couldn't go?
Because he's burning his time, he has no time.
He's gonna go without pay, because he used all of his 3 weeks that you allotted him because he got sick.
And the other problem, you got somebody, they schedule vacation in February. They're gonna take their family and they'll go for a week of skiing. They haven't accrued enough hours to.
No, he doesn't accrue that way anymore, Judge.
Well, is it 10 hours a month, or you get 120 on January 1st?
It's the number of days. Yeah, he gets 120 on January the 1st.
So when he quits on February 1st.
Money.
Huh?
He owes you money. And it comes out of his last pay.
No.
So by the same token,
If I get 120 hours of vacation and I take it in the month of January, 3 weeks back to back,
It's a liability.
and I quit in February, I owe the county money. Yeah, that's the way I would want.
Why would it not be that way? I don't understand. It's a liability.
It's kind of like cafeteria plan.
Yeah.
You know, if I didn't get $3,000 worth of dinner work done.
For being a good employee, you're getting shafted.
so you take the first 2 weeks off of January to go skiing, and then March comes around and you get the flu, and you're out for a week. You're out for 2 weeks. You not get paid for that?
Let's say you
have people coming to work sick.
What if you cut your leg off and you're out for 3 months, Mark? Do you not get paid for that either?
Well, you can cap it wherever you want to,
Yeah.
but.
I'm just saying, we can't cover all the.
You're gonna have those situations, and as dire as they are, and we see them from time to time, you can't write your policy for one individual situation. If you do, you won't ever get it done.
But the system we have right now, to me, if it's managed, it's equitable, it's reasonable, it helps, I think, with employee retention.
It does.
We give the amount of time in that sick leave that meets the Family Medical Leave Act. Is it expensive? Yes.
Very much so.
Okay.
You hit the right word, Judge, managed.
But managed is what
Managed is
any system's about, but I've heard the PTO system, we've talked about it off and on over years, and I don't like it any better than the first time I heard it. So,
Well, no, because we're on the Cadillac plan, Judge.
every once in a while, this Volkswagen needs a Cadillac grill.
Are we
Do
on
what?
the Cadillac paying as far as pay for our employees?
I'm not, well, I'm gonna tell you, I disagree with a little survey work on that.
We're not out of line by any
We're on
means.
the Cadillac on pay.
No, I don't agree, we're not the Cadillac,
Private entities.
but we're not on the Yugo plan either.
But, you know, what concerns me with this court is y'all have given lost value of our employees. You no longer have value of our employees. And that
I'm not gonna take
concerns me
that
you're
statement.
taking away the value.
That is not my case.
I'm not saying, I'm saying the commissioner's court as a whole.
Give me an example.
Yes, I don't understand
Judge,
that.
I don't understand that at all.
I don't either.
Well, all I heard last year is you weren't trying to do any, you ended up doing, you ended up saving our insurance, and we appreciate that fact, even though there was some manipulations there, but we were still able to keep it. But all during the budget last year, all I heard was our employees had no value. It was always about the money, and you didn't care. All you talked about was cutting. It's scared some of my employees to death that they were going to lose a job. You took away that value. And now you're reaching, as I'm a department head, it doesn't affect me as an office holder. But what it affects is the quality of people that continue to keep my office running efficiently. So I just would ask, I mean, each of you have employees. And I just would ask that as you consider, and I would expect all of you in your lifetime have been an employee, that you've not been an office holder. And I would just ask that you would consider the value of our employees as you consider the budget.
Well, how do you do that? I don't understand. I can't make that connection because we do value our employees. That's why we work hard to keep things afloat and keep it moving forward.
Well, I think that maybe the words I'm hearing here, it feels like every time in a budget hearing, I just don't feel value there. So maybe I would just ask that you consider that as you use those words, because and we've got office holders. Do y'all disagree with what I'm saying?
No, I do not.
Do you disagree?
Not on this issue.
Well, I'm not understanding, if you're under a budget crunch and you've got to talk about cutbacks, how do you move that conversation from that tough decision that has to be made to keep things working and keep the insurance paid for and all that? How do you, I don't make the connection. I don't know how you go from
Obviously, Commissioner, I'm not on your side.
Yeah.
I'm on this side. I'm not having to manipulate a budget. We went through a jail last year, and I'm telling you, I see what that jail does. I know that we desperately need a new jail. I'm not saying that, but I'm concerned. Are we taking away from stuff that we're putting more value on things rather than people? And I don't see what your budget is.
We're ready. Bring us some way we can cut back. And
I mean, prime example is which one is better? Less time off or pay for health insurance more out of your pocket? Today you don't pay anything as an employee out of your pocket, but would you rather maintain your days off and then start paying some for health insurance? Because the scales are weighted down. So you're loaded on both ends. You got to find some relief. So which one would that rather be? Which one devalues or values the employee more? Which one's better? To have the time to pay for insurance, or to have the county pay for insurance and have less time? And less time, I mean, what is less time? I mean, I've never had a job that I only got 2 weeks vacation plus all the holidays that were accounted for. And I mean, we're pretty healthy on number of days off here. So, I mean, what is it? What is the smart move? Which one is better?
And in reality, all of the department heads can bring that to us in their budget proposal. That's where it comes from. We don't initiate it. It comes from, if we want less things and more emphasis on people, then that's what the budget requests need to reflect, and we're not seeing that. So I'm hearing you say one thing, but we're not seeing that whenever the requests come in. That's what's got me confused, is how do we do that? Well, we'll buy less of this and less of that, but that's not what the requests are showing.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. I appreciate that.
And I'm not arguing with you. We want our employees to be valued. We absolutely do.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that comment that you made,
Yeah.
because maybe it's something I need to look at it a little
Yeah.
closer to.
We need to see that reflected in the requests, and that's not what we're seeing.
One of the things said a few weeks ago, Janice, and I can't remember what the context was, but I think Mike said something about that the fines you all are giving out were actually, the court costs are often higher than the fines, and they haven't changed much in years. You know, we hadn't changed our deal for doing servicing, papers, but we changed that significantly, and oddly enough, instead of it going down, the amount of papers has trended ahead. I'm not sure why. I think now they're paying for real service and getting that. But whether you all, as a group of JPs, looked at that and said, we look what other counties are often paying and say, maybe our people aren't making that. But what's their revenue? Are they, I'm thinking when we're down at Collin County and the pay down there, cost of living down there is incredible. But are we proportionate here? Should we look at and revisit what we're doing on Class C fines? And then you've got the deal, you've got to now balance that, can the individual pay that without it being a hardship on them? I don't know how we got that out of a Republican legislature that came up with that stuff. But it's trying to figure out where to change the revenue to cover the things to show the employees there is value in what they're doing.
Our largest single investment is our employees, period. And we wouldn't buy a great oil and not change the motor oil in it. And I think that's what I'm hearing George say, is we have an investment in maintenance of our employees as well, the same way we would maintain a piece of equipment. We need to think of our employees beyond that. They're our largest single investment.
I think
before we talk about raising the possibility of fines, we got to remember a lot of those people who get fines, get tickets, aren't able to pay them, and they end up back in that jail. Of course, then we have to feed them and house them for a day or two or three, depending on what the fines are worth. So, start raising fines too high, then it just kicks us.
Well, you can't do that now. Gee, that's the thing. But so now I've got OCA sent me all their paperwork on trying to do pretrial programs, post-trial programs that don't involve any revenue, but involve greater either time or expense, or we do it from what we have now. It's not, it's not easy. And, last year, in my 29 years of doing budget, was actually the worst year. And what we're trying to do this year is find out, are there any sleeping skunks in the budget plan? Because we had a lot of skunks last year. And trying to keep those from being just thrown out and try to get that discussion going, so in these one-on-one discussions with budget, we're not going to sit down and all of a sudden have a surprise that we're going to say, by the way, we're going to cut the workforce again by 3%. We're not doing that. I don't know of any, and that's why I'm trying to ask commissioners. Anybody got something you're thinking about? Any reduction in force? Any change in benefits? This was one Commissioner Watts has worked on. Willie has worked on it before. My position is very clear on it. I don't see changing that system, but I'm the one voting on the court.
I'm definitely in favor, because this county, we're wasting so much money between the auditor's office that has to go do all the legwork into reviewing and keeping up with where our time is. There's so much better programming. We can use that money to pay health costs that we don't have to pay for out of our pocket. That's where we're headed, trying to avoid that at all costs.
That's the 500-pound gorilla in the room. It's coming.
5 weeks of paid time. Does anybody know anybody that received, that quite a few friends that get more than 5 paid weeks of time off?
Jeff, I think you'll find too that there's a lot of employees, I can speak for the sheriff's office, a lot of employees that don't have the opportunity to take those days off because they have to work in the jail.
But if you didn't, I'd certainly support the ideal if you tell Johnny that, Johnny, I can give you 2 weeks this year, but them other 3, I'm sorry, you gotta work. I'd support you paying Johnny all day long. He's not to lose that time. But if Johnny refuses to take any time off and it's in front of him to do, and then he gets to the end of the year and say, Chief, would you get me some money for this? I didn't want to take none of this time. That's
Johnny doesn't get to decide that.
Yeah.
Johnny is told he's going to take that time off. But there is some leeway for the supervisor to carry 1.5 of the vacation benefit forward.
No, I'm just talking about going forward, Judge. I'm talking about there are instances, and Devin has them in his office too, that they hit certain times, and Deb has discussed that with me as well. But the problem is, if you can't fit the time to take off in the year's time, you're not going to fit it in because you had 2 years to do it. You're going to take some time off, but that's what vacation time is for, and especially the jail, that's the worst one.
See, there's lots.
They need to be off. They need to take their personal time off.
There's lots of industries that require you to take vacation. You've got to take it, and it's a security deal.
Yeah,
it's a health deal. It's a mental health deal.
Of all professions, law enforcement, they need to take that time
Absolutely.
off. But the problem is, we can't give people. We've got people right now in patrol that's working overtime because we're having to send people to training. We're short people, and so we're running into right now to where we're having to not let them take off. And when they ask for vacations and what have you come up, we're not going to be able to because of whatever, the training, or it's going to be because of the manpower that we have to keep on the 24-hour-a-day shift.
Maybe,
And,
that's a management decision, that 24-hour-day shift.
Oh, it's a have-to thing. At 24 hours, we've got to be out there 24 hours. It's not, we can't not put them out there.
Yes, you can. You have the authority to not do that. You don't have to have that.
We don't even have to have a deputy sheriff for the county. It's something we choose to do.
Not saying it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's not required.
Don't misunderstand it.
Yeah, we do what we want.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, as a resident of the county, I want them out there.
Right.
I think it's crazy to say you don't want them out there.
No, it's not.
That is,
That's something we want.
Yeah.
We chose.
that's
to put
something that the
deal.
voters want and the
That's what I'm talking about.
taxpayers
That's
want.
something we want.
Okay.
We want that.
It's easy for everybody to want. It's what do you want to pay for?
That's what everything's based on, and that's the reason why we have employees right here. It always goes back to the money. We're always in here talking about taking away this and taking away that. And last year, during the summer, or whenever it was, when we were in here doing all the budgets, there's not one division in this whole courthouse that wasn't upset, and it went through the whole bunch. The whole courthouse was upset over you keep cutting here and telling us to spend less. That's why everybody...
Yeah, that's our job.
Yeah.
That's what we're elected to do.
That's the alternative.
We have to do it.
I'd be glad to have the alternative. I just don't know what it is.
But that's exactly what Judge Sons was telling you. You're painting the picture that you're telling everybody it comes to money. You don't care anything about anybody else. It's the money's what y'all talk
We can
about.
tell them we're here all
Keep the
day.
money. That's our job. But how simple can I put that to you? It is why we are here. If you didn't have to manage the money, you wouldn't need us. Everybody just do whatever they wanted to. Taxes to be through the roof.
Well, there's a ceiling on it.
Be great. Be great. You just didn't have to do anything. Here's the money. Go do it. But that's not real life. It's the same thing at your household. You only can do what you can do with the money that you have.
That's it.
It's the same thing.
But what you're saying, I'm hoping this year, that's why we're having these discussions ahead of time, so we don't have this months of agonizing dilemma of what's going to happen next Monday in Commissioner's Court. You know, Judge, I'm sorry, when you come back, we'll stop whatever we're doing, we'll get you in. But
Thank you.
I would love to find a way to make it kinder and gentler, but when you've got a number over here and you got to match it, it's not a simple process. We certainly don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just not sure how you.
I just hope it doesn't cause a mass exodus one day where everybody says, you know what, we can go to work somewhere else. And that's
But they can't, Darryl.
If you take away their
You
insurance.
cannot go work anywhere else and get the pay and the benefits that you get at this county unless you're a rocket scientist. How many rocket scientists do we have here that can go right out there in this town and get a better paying job with better benefits or equal to? Where? Where?
Right on down the road.
Where?
Wise
If you
County,
take
if they
away-
Well,
Yeah,
but
let's move, let's pick our family up and move somewhere else. We go to New York City, we can get a better paying job, but at $3,500 a month for an apartment up there, or $5,000. So let's just stay right here at home. Where can you go get a better job?
Here's the problem, Lee. When you work and you work and you work and you're told you can't take off and you can't have a day off and you can't do and you can't do, you finally get sick of it.
That doesn't come from us.
You'll pay.
That doesn't come from us, it comes from your supervision.
Yeah, because you're cutting us back. You're cutting us. So
Well, ma'am,
when you
if you look, you got about a dozen
budget,
positions in your office that are not filled. Now, we put the money in there, paid for them, but you don't fill them. So when you
because
fill them,
you
then
can't
you
find
can take
anybody to
that.
fill them too.
Well,
We had 16
That's not our problem.
applicants. 16.
We
Yeah,
put the money in there for
it is
you.
your problem.
We put the money in there for you to get those positions, and there was a young lady that left off something on her application. She was denied employment. Took 8 months before they let her do it again. I mean, how critical are you being down
It's
there?
the rules. We, just like you said you have
Yeah.
rules to go by, we do too. If you can't fill out an application, when you come to fill out an application, what makes you think you can go by our rules in the jail if you can't even go by the rules that say on the application, fill it out?
She had forgotten something.
So what? You gonna forget to do your walks in the jail?
well,
Something that was 15 years ago.
It
She had
doesn't
forgotten it.
matter.
My point
It's a
is-
law enforcement agency. That's my point. We have
I
rules and
understand that.
regulations. That's my point I'm
I
talking
understand
about.
that you have rules and regulations. I get that.
I think the problem here is y'all never worked in the environment that we're in, so you can't fathom what it's like. You don't have a clue of what it's really
I agree with
like.
I agree with that. But
You
vice
just
versa.
don't know.
Vice versa.
I've been where you are, Barry, still on the farm and ranch. Know all about that business.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with farm and ranch.
But you have no clue. I didn't have a clue until I came in it and started working in it. I had no idea Wichita County had 600 inmates.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So you
So
just
you're
can't
missing
fathom
100%.
what we're doing. You
Don't use 600, that makes
You
sense.
can't fathom how it really honestly is. Your phone, my phone, I'm the office manager. My phone rings at home 24/7, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Got a money issue in the jail. I get up and I come down here. We're in and out all the time. It's a constant 24/7 job. When I was hired, I wasn't told that. It's my job to do.
Okay?
So what's your answer?
I'm telling
Where are you going with this?
What's the answer?
Where I'm going with it is all we hear is cut back, cut back, cut back. I can't have any overtime, so I've got to take that time that I've spent coming in and take it off. Well, when am I going to take it off? Because I've got 2 out in the front or 2 out in the, you can't.
You're an exempt employee at your level.
You're exactly right, but I'm not going to give you time, Judge, when I'm called in at 3:30.
You will if
I'm
you're
not
an
about
exempt
to give you
employee.
that time.
That's
So
part of the
I have to
contract.
take that time off somewhere. I have to do something. I'm going to have to leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So who's going to finish my job? Who's going to finish checking those bonds that come into that jail that have to be turned in the same day that they come in?
All right.
Who's supposed to do that?
We've identified the problem. What's the solution?
Okay, that's
We
what
know
I'm
what the
telling
problem
you. You
is.
can't just jump in there and say, we've got to cut this back or cut this. You've got to see the long picture and do your research
But you
down there.
still only have X number of dollars. That doesn't change anything. We can wish and we can want and we can feel good and we can plan and all that. You've got X number of dollars to pay the bills with.
Okay.
How do you solve
Have
that?
you looked at those X number of dollars coming out of something else? Besides
We've
what
looked
you're
at
doing
those.
to employees?
We've looked at them out of everything, but when the employees are about, 60 to 70% of the budget, where else are you going to go look? Tell me where to go look. I'll go look. We do look. We've looked at all of it.
What would you cut?
Yeah.
You're setting up
Where would you
money to
start?
get rid of. Now, don't devalue anybody. Be careful.
Well,
But where would you cut?
the problem is we can cut a lot out of the operations budget and it wouldn't make a big dent in our personnel budget. It wouldn't make a dent at all.
You don't want me to tell you. I'll just put it to you.
About 76% of our budget is set in stone by statute, by the fact that its personnel has to be maintained. So that only leaves that little bit to carve on.
That's why it's critical
That's what
that
makes it so
everybody
difficult.
stays within their budget and
There's very little leeway.
very little. Very
I
little.
think though, guys, we're not adversaries here. We do understand what your challenges are. We look at it. We look at it on the books. We talk to you. We see you. We walk through your office down there. We know we've got 3 and 4 people crammed in one office. We're doing something to change that. But the bottom line, it still comes back. You've got X number of dollars to operate.
I guess my question, Barry, would be, why all of a sudden did you hit the brick wall? You had to see it coming 5, 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, it's just bam. You're losing 3
No.
employees, you're losing 2 employees, you're
The brick-
doing this, you're doing
The
that.
brick wall's 80 cents, and we're hoping 10 years away, but we don't know. We're doing right now what you just asked us to do. We're there.
I'm talking, why didn't you string it out throughout
We
the
are.
year?
This is what stringing it out is. This is it. That's what we're doing. We see the wall coming.
You gotta start somewhere.
We see it coming.
Jill, honestly, there's been a lot of that. How often were pay raises here? 3 to 4 years apart. Benefits, we started looking at, could we do something to curb that? The curbing we did saved some money, but we took the savings on the health insurance, set it aside, it goes into the health reimbursement account so that you do get, we have people in this room who have already benefited from that plan where they've gotten reimbursed for their co-pays. That wouldn't have happened under the old plan. So there has been some adjustment to that benefit. Hopefully, by next year, we stay on the same plan, we might see some savings in that premium. But this year, that offset has been set aside to pay that. Because we had no experience with it, so we have no idea how much money, if you took every employee, multiplied that $3,000 times them, you would have a whole lot of money set aside that's not going to be called on. So we've taken the best guesstimate we could on that. The expense area is, you think, okay, let's cut back. Y'all are the largest budget, far and away. Some of that you've got to provide medical care, mental health care, food, clothing.
It's not an option.
You have no options
For people that don't want to be there, which makes it more difficult. But here's the deal. I think I'm understanding a little something here just in this conversation. Because you just asked me, why did we hit the wall? No, we haven't hit the wall. This is the soft landing. And I think one of the things that we probably missed is maybe people don't really understand how serious this really is. No, we've not hit the wall. This is the soft landing we're going to do now, to keep from hitting the wall 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. That's where we are. Yeah, it's a great question, Jill. You asked a good question. This is it. This is the getting there stage. And maybe we've not made people understand that that's how serious this is. It's for real. It's happening. And what we went through last year, there's going to be more of it on a bigger scale if we don't get something under control. Our tax base, Wichita County, is not growing. And until it does, we have a finite amount of resources to operate under. And you can't continue. Just annual inflation. What is it, really? 1.5%, 2%? Somewhere in that neighborhood?
That's the official.
It's probably worse than that. So if you just look at that, you take our budget, you put 2% on it, how many years is it going to take us to get to 80 cents? Not very long. And that's if we just maintain where we are today. That's the challenge we're against.
You know, a lot of people blame the jail. The jail certainly accelerated, but we really did a good job on the jail. One, the sheriff's department really carried the ball and sold that. It wasn't, the commissioner's court legally couldn't do what you all did. That's good. The thing the court did do over its practices over all the years, we came out with the 2 best ratings you could get. So our bonds wound up costing us considerably less than they could have. So that gave us 1 to 2 cents back off of that bond payment. That helped us stay away from that 80 cents. But that accelerated by several years, adding that on, and that's going to last 30 years. So as Barry said, the soft landing is right now. How can we do things to change what we're doing to lessen that outcome? None of us are going to be here that are in this room right now towards the end of those bonds. So how can we make that where we can take care of benefits, take care of employees, and provide a reasonable amount of compensation? And anytime you change those, it's likely that budget number is going to go up and taxes are going to go up unless you change something you're doing now. And the discussions hurt. But if we all contribute, kind of thing you're saying, now you're holding back on what you might be saying. If you don't want to do it here, send us an email. Give those suggestions. If you've got a silver bullet, I want to know about it. Where can we look at? Can we, vehicle operation is one of our tremendous expenses. Whether it's leaving a bulldozer running when it's not operating. Now, if it's a diesel, it's always recommended you use them all day long that run. If it's a gas engine, it's the opposite. One of the things we planned into the LEC is a place for the canines to go instead of having to sit out in the car and you have to keep it running to protect the animal. So maybe when they come up there and they're going to come in and fill out reports under the new system, they can bring that animal in and put it in a better place and do that. So it'll save some fuel and some wear and tear on that vehicle. Right now we don't have a good answer to that. But all those little pennies do add up. And there may be some more we're not looking at. So, no, help us. But it is not meant to be any attack on personnel or departments or anything else like that. It is meant to be, can we do things different and save money so that we can invest it back in the people that are saving it. That's the goal here. But it's not,
I don't think it was meant, I didn't take it as an attack. I don't ever take stuff like that as an attack. I think they look at it as it's a really good asset to try to hire the better end of the people, that we're offering something like that. That's a drawing card for them to come to us because we do have this in play.
But they can go to work anywhere else in Wichita and eat the same thing, so it's really not a drawing card.
remember?
Well, that's true. It is now.
But I think what I
I mean, we
see,
used to be cream of the crop, now we're not. So
What changed?
what changed?
Yeah.
Our insurance changed drastically. That was a huge drawing card for me.
Okay, the people out there, they would give their right arm to have insurance like you've got. You still got the cream of the crop. Even though you might be paying a little bit more for it, you're still on the very top. Yeah. Go out there and get private insurance.
Out there, you
Oh,
know,
I do have private
you're not gonna
insurance.
find the people out
I do have
there.
private insurance.
There's not that many people out there that wanna work in the jail.
Well, that's not the only job this county has.
Yeah, but it's still
It's
is.
what we're trying to find.
And that is, and Dale, that is a problem all unto itself. I mean, it is.
It
We
is.
know
It's
that.
a whole animal.
I mean, I've been through there.
It's an adult babysitting job.
Yeah.
And that's what it is,
Yeah.
and that's what, nobody wants to hear that language, nobody wants to deal with that nasty.
No.
So you've got to give them some kind of a perk to that. I mean, there's got to be something to the job that's a drawing card to them. I mean, how many of y'all want feces thrown at you?
Right. Well, what is that? What is that part?
What I'm telling you is leave
I don't
that,
mind it when
them
we
hours
take
alone.
cows, but-
Those jailers deserve more, probably, than most of us sitting in this room do. That is the kind of job that they deserve more. They work long, long hours. I would love for y'all to go in there and see those jailers that have worked 16 hours, standing on their feet, having to wrestle somebody down, having to deal with the most nastiest of the nasty. You gotta come to some point where you offer those people a little bit more. They deserve better. And I don't know what it is. It's your jobs to find out what that is. It's what you're being elected to do.
It's money. They didn't sign up for the job because they said, oh, the county offers me
Exactly.
5 weeks of vacation. Their pay's
But that's
crappy,
part
but I
of
get
it.
5
That's
weeks.
part of it. It's a
No, very
package
little
deal.
of it. The money's the part of it, and the biggest thing is, we set the money exactly what you brought to the table. You said, we need to start our boys
You
at
have to-
$33,000.
The fringe benefits is
So,
part of that.
we got it
The insurance and the time off
$33,000.
is the part of that.
That was not the discussion. You pay them more, you'll get more hired. We paid them more, now it's your duty to get them hired. So if we're not paying them enough, bring that to the table. Benefits, yeah, it's a nice thing over on the side, but it's not why somebody decided to come and work at the jail. Because
It is part of
I get
it.
more
It
vacation.
is part of
We
it.
we need to stay competitive within industry, so.
We do, we've got to.
Other areas of
We've
similar,
got to.
so all of our local jail entities.
But time off isn't that important to you when you can't take it anyway. That's
Well,
part of
I
the
think so,
problem.
but when they're hired, they're promised time off. You got to.
We can't compare Wichita County to what they do out at PPG.
You can't hire them and tell them, we're gonna offer you this, but you're not ever gonna get it.
None of the places have jail.
No, they don't have a jail.
We hire people,
road workers.
we hire people, we tell them you can't use any vacation time until after your 6 months of employment. Then you get your 6 months time.
That's pretty standard
and then you
stuff
can take it.
there.
But now we want to go to where we'll give you 120 hours or whatever the case is.
And burn it
But
in 6 months.
we're taking away, some people, believe it or not, some people that we've hired are actually telling me the benefits, what y'all have, is what drew me here. Now, I'm not gonna talk about things that, there's a lot of things that disqualify people that apply here. Those are things that we have to follow by the state. And I draw this to you because of the comment you made earlier, which you failed to mention that same female did just recently get hired up.
Yeah, no, I did. She took her 8 months later, she finally got on,
The
but
state says we have to follow a standard of what we need to make sure that they qualify for licensing. I just can't get a guy off the street and say, here's your license, get to work.
I understand.
There's a list that I'm required to follow, that I'm held to, and if I do something wrong, the sheriff's not gonna answer for it, I'm gonna answer for it.
Sure.
And I'm the one that's gonna end up behind bars for not doing something I shouldn't be doing.
Nobody's asking you to do
You know?
something you shouldn't be doing.
So, I'm gonna
It
say,
was a judgment call on your part
Yes.
that she, what about this right here? Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes,
Well, you
it was.
lied on your application. Well, I didn't lie on my application, I just forgot it. But yeah, that happened.
I'm
I didn't even know.
happy she's here, I'm happy Meredith's here, because I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
Public record, anybody can want to come and public record somebody's application, they can. If we can question their character before they hire them, what can they do in the court of law? Question their character and whether they should even believe them when having to testify in court on something that happened. So there's a lot of things that go into play when we hire somebody. It's not just, okay, I'm gonna hire this one, I'm gonna hire that one, pick the day and that's it. But when it comes to benefits, lately, I've been hearing that the benefits and the salaries have been very beneficial to people wanting to come here. I'm losing people to PPG, I'm losing people to United Regional Hospital. I'm losing them to all these different places, so.
That's because that ain't a jail. That jail is a terrible place.
Which, when they go to United Regional, they're gonna pay about $500 a month for their insurance, and they're also gonna be on a PTO system, just like we just talked to.
Yeah, and they also gave incentive.
So does it really matter? I don't know.
They pay more money.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
Yeah, but United Regional also has sick banks, because my sister-in-law took 6 months to be with her baby at Cook's, and United Regional
Yeah.
paid her all 6 months of it,
That's
because they had sick banks,
Yeah.
which we don't do either.
Do other employees there,
Donate to the sick bank.
how come we can't do that?
Yeah.
Because we don't have a method of tracking all of our sick leave throughout the entire county. It's not a unified method, so
Well,
that's why we can't.
They adopt their own plan and the rules for it. You have to follow. I haven't looked at it in years, but the state plan used to be pretty negative. It was not meant to be employee particularly friendly.
We have looked at it, Judge. We
Yeah,
talked
it's
about it.
been-
When I worked for the state, it was great. I mean, there wasn't any problem with donating sick leave.
Well,
and-
that was the rules for the state, Meredith. I think there is a statute covers us. Sometime we'll take a look at it. Maybe there's been some revision, but we looked at it years ago.
We've looked at it before.
It wasn't a good deal. And we couldn't really do what everybody else in the world seems to be able to do with their sick leave banks. The school district's plans, or they adopt their own, but WFISD's plan was pretty reasonable. But it also did kind of call foul on those people that continually use their state at zero, and then got sick, unfortunately, and needed their sick leave.
City of Wichita Falls is a sick bank, and it's managed by the employees.
Yeah.
We have a board that approves and disapproves claims on the sick banks. So they can they can take that into account, that this person is a chronic user of sick leave, they abuse it, so they're not getting it. But this person legitimately has an illness, they're a good employee, and they can extend their sick benefit.
If we had a bank like that, we could be helping David Austin right now.
We could.
That he's out. Well, and when John got sick, he ran out too. Those are great people. I wish we could implement that.
I do too. That's been something I would love to do.
Every time we mention it, it's something that we can't track, we can't figure out, or
Yeah, we can.
we can't.
If everybody's in the same system, we're using the same
If the paper system works as long as the people supervising review what's being reported to them. I'm sorry.
I mean, but think about, guys, what you're saying. All employees have to get a whole bunch of time, gather up sick, and then they can pass it on. But we as a group can't just give Billy Bob, because he's fallen on a difficult situation, time he needs. We have to compensate the whole world and let the world then contribute to the cause in order to get Billy Bob the time he needs. When in fact, we could take action to give Billy Bob the time he needs and not have this big old...
Well, if you give it to Billy Bob, then you gotta give it to everybody.
Yeah, Jamie Sue's gonna come up here.
Yeah, well, Billy Bob got it, I want it too. No, there ain't no maybe about it. They will line up.
But right now, we're giving it to everybody.
We're just giving a little bit to everybody. And there's people here that don't use it, that could give their benefit to a coworker if they wanted to.
Well, what they're not using is their vacation time.
Sick time.
No, they use the sick time, they save their vacation till they quit,
It's saying if
and then
you were
they pay
to you gave an hour of vacation and an hour of sick leave.
We don't get paid for sick leave when we leave.
Oh, no, but you get paid for vacation, and everybody, Meredith, that's left with any significant seniority this year has been paid for the maximum vacation.
But then we
And
can't
that's just
rehire
crazy.
until that time runs out, so
Right.
we're not losing any monies to that.
Right.
You are losing money.
You're losing performance, or you don't need that person.
But that's the whole deal.
That's the whole deal.
Okay, if that person were on vacation all that time, you don't have them there performing.
Another great point, Judge,
Good point.
that if you can do without them that kind of time, it bears that question. It sure does. But my point is, and this draft is to start that conversation, I'm okay with the system you have. Just don't let it become a piggy bank. If you leave employment with Wichita County, you walk away with nothing if you're not going to take advantage of the benefit we're giving you. Why wouldn't we let them walk out the door and cash in for the rest of the amount of insurance we're going to be able to save off of them the rest of the year? Why wouldn't we just go ahead and give them those months in advance and let them take them too? Don't pay them a dime of that, and you'll see people use that thing up lickety-split. It still needs to be fixed and adjusted so everybody's not accounting for time all day long. But nevertheless, as long as that's not the case, I'm pretty decent.
But if
with
they're
that.
using sick leave when they should be using vacation, the supervision is not well done.
I don't care what you call it, Judge. It's time off and away from your job and not doing your job here. That's all it amounts to. And who am I to say, well, Billy really wasn't sick. He was going to quit in 2 weeks, so he just burned off that time.
Ask him to bring a doctor's note. You've got that ability in your personnel manual.
Sure. I'm just saying.
Well, I get sick, I'm gonna be sick 2 or 3 days, I'll never go to the doctor.
You don't have to,
You don't have to, okay.
as an elected official.
No, I'm talking about.
Well, I think that's,
I'm just talking about my whole life, you know, I get.
Yeah.
and I think this conversation just pointed out why the PTO deal is a lot easier to manage, because you don't have to make those
No,
judgment
you don't
calls.
have to make those
And
judgments.
that is probably the one good thing about that system.
What do you do for the ones that are receiving, after 10 years, you get 3 weeks? You're capping it at 120, or are you capping it at something else?
Well, all this, Patty, this is just talk. That's all any of this is. So, no, we talked about just standardizing it, making it simplistic. And Willie brought up the point, how do you move over to something like this? You got people that are carrying a ton of time, people that are carrying no time. And you'd have to establish that as well, but.
You'll have that reported in January. So, you would know what that is, but, but really a lot of it, any system you have has got to have the management of that system. Now, I will agree that PTO is different. I'll take a day off, it doesn't matter. There went 8 hours. And the deal about, if I leave you 2 months in and I used more time than I had earned, and so what we're saying is you must earn PTO at 10 hours a month. It's 120 hours a year. Okay, so, you're going to have to have.
I deal with that every day, Judge. It's the way.
But you
we
have
do
something
it.
in your employment agreement with your people that says when they get that, it'll be taken out of their last paycheck?
Yeah, and they signed their employee handbook that states that. So, I know that Billy may want to go to some ski trip in February, but he's not fully accrued till December 30th.
Well, here's the deal. My whole life, when I went to work somewhere, I had to work there a year before I got 2 weeks vacation.
Most times you do.
Okay? So why on earth would we give somebody 2 weeks vacation on the first day of work? That'd be crazy.
We're trying to allow them to do it early in the year to keep them stacking.
That's not our problem.
No, okay.
Well, yeah.
That's not our problem. They work a whole year, then they can take their vacation in February.
But you're not going to let them carry it
Oh, but they.
It is our problem if we can't let them off. Then it
We don't let them off for a year, because they ain't earned vacation for a year. And then next February, they can go skiing.
But you're saying they did earn it and they accrued it for the following year?
But right, you wait 12 months, like everywhere else I work, you weren't even eligible for vacation until you've been there.
Yeah, but in them instances, Lee, I'm not aware of it pre-accruing. It didn't accrue, period.
Well, it'd be how you set
Next
it up.
year, you were eligible for vacation.
No, I got 2 weeks vacation after first year work.
That's right. So year 2, you got 2 weeks vacation. If you took it all in February, you still had to work the rest of the year to be fully accrued.
You earned it in the previous year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you earned it the previous year.
I'm not aware of it
I'll
working
need to be
that way.
careful about earned PTO, because earned PTO may have to be paid. You may be in the same situation you are with vacation time.
Well,
Well, I think it does.
first premise is vacation and holidays are not required.
That's true.
Okay, so they are a benefit that we have supported and is, is pretty much a standard to support. Judge Sons.
Did you need more of my opinion?
No, they didn't know your facts.
You pretty well started the conversation now. So
We welcome your opinion, man, but we would like your report right now, and if you take the microphone.
I apologize that I was out all last week, so I really am not unsure of what you're requesting from me. I would
That's
expect
Commissioner Washington's item, I think.
It's just the overview, Judge, of how you think we're looking.
Let me just tell you, you understand you're only getting my office. I don't have Judge Little's paperwork, and I'm sure that you're asking for his information too, but all I can give you is my information of what I'm doing. And I'm sure part of that is because I am the autopsy queen of Wichita County. Is this on?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I sing? Would you? Anyway, so here's my information that I have. If you're requesting that for the month, Commissioner, were you wanting March's information, or were you wanting March and February's? What are you requesting?
We already had January, did we, Nancy? Yeah.
How are we trending as compared to last year?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I wasn't requested that, so I didn't bring that information. I can bring that at a later Commissioner's
I
meeting.
think that's what we were interested in.
I didn't realize that's what you're asking, so I apologize again. I didn't have an opportunity to call in.
I think this whole thing is simple. We, together, talked about an issue that we had last year. And you and your JPs were gonna go out and revisit the way you do it and why you did it, how you were doing it, okay? And we were just wondering, has it worked?
Has it changed?
Is it changing? Is it better?
Again, Commissioner, I can only give you for Janice Sons, Wichita County. And let me tell you, without looking at last year's records, I promise you we are sending much fewer. If I just use just for the month of March, in the month of March, I had 7. Out of 7, I had one that requested an autopsy. I refused the autopsy, and they did their own autopsy. So that is one that the county did not pay for. So out of the 7, I had 2 that I requested. So that means there were 4 that were not sent. In the past, I probably would have sent more than that. So just for the month of March, that's what we're looking at. For the month of April, I've had, and thank you, Judge, that you assisted the judges this last week when all of us were out of town for a couple of days at the same time. And out of those this week, 5 as of now, Judge Gossam did 1, Judge Gossam did not send them. I have done 1 blood autopsy. Did not send the whole down. I just did 1 autopsy and the toxicology only. I have sent 2 down, and then 1 was not sent. So that's this month that what we did. In the month of February, I was on call by myself for the whole month because Judge Little was out of the office. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of 12 that I did for the month of February, I sent 2 out of 12. So, and I can tell you that is much less. If you so you can tell, again, if I looked at what took place last year, and again, this is just Judge Sons, this is not a group of 5, I would say by all means, it's much, in fact, Judge Little and I've discussed this many times, we are sending fewer, and we do the majority of all the inquest.
Yeah. Actually, it's hard to say the fewer. I guess what you do if you say, okay, in 2017, we had 100 inquests. We sent 80 of that 100, so 80%. In 2017, we had 200, but we only sent 60%. Well, the bill's going to be up because you had more bodies, but it's kind of what's the percentage is the only way to kind of judge that, because you don't determine we're only going to have X number of deaths each month.
And Judge Gossam went out, I think that was the only one you've ever been out on since 10, is that right, since we've been doing it? So you had a better idea of what we're looking at, what we're judging. And with each case is an individual case. I sent, it depends on what the situation is. The toxicology that I sent, probably in the past I would have sent and done a complete autopsy because it was a car accident. Rather than, it was a pretty serious one car accident. But because of just the concerns, I decided only to send toxicology rather than the full body. So it just, again, it's an individual case. Yes, Judge, you're looking at it.
Yeah, I wanted to find out something when you said that, because I'd worked on that and I'd asked Ms. Shelton to work with the medical office over at the hospital. So they actually did a post-mortem blood draw and sent that. Okay, good.
So that was a toxicology. That's
right,
what they told us.
But, there was a time when we were sending the whole body down there to have a blood draw.
Yes, sir, that is absolutely right.
Okay.
At one time, before last year, July of last year, I think is when you as a commissioner's court asked us to kind of look at this and be a little more in tune to what we were doing. And yes, absolutely, we're doing probably more toxicology, much more, even though we still don't do a lot. And again, we had one that wanted a full autopsy, and I refused, only because I didn't feel it was all natural causes, and I didn't feel the county should incur that cost, and they wanted to do that. So
as soon as you have results on that, you get the
that's
results.
still in waiting for that.
Oh,
it takes
okay.
about 60 days for those to come in, sometimes as much as 90. Usually it's a toxicology we're waiting on when it takes 90 days. And I'll to be very honest with you, I had one that I did send for autopsy this last month, and it appeared to be all natural, but the woman had no medical history at all, no medical history. She'd been seeing a doctor, the visit with a doctor. He said there's absolutely no reason why she should have died. She was 60 years old. Again, didn't appear, but I was very concerned with it, and that's the reason why I sent it for autopsy. The other one that I sent was too many people in the house. When I feel like there's too many people in the house, too many situations that could be involved, maybe an environment of drugs, then I may consider sending them for autopsy because I didn't know what the situation was. So I made that call. So you can see with each one, and again, if they have a medical history, I have a doctor, I have the family is telling me there's some medical issues, and if I feel like I can get a cause of death, in fact, I did one not long ago that they didn't have anything, but there was nothing appeared that it was anything but all medical. So it's just a judgment call. I must tell you, it's a judgment call on each of us. And because of last year, I can tell you that I have decreased the amount by your consideration.
Yeah. And, you know, the interesting thing when the county judge fills in, you know, we probably ought to put you in a little area padded separate of.
I would just say too, you know, Judge Little and Judge Suggs have learned a lot as they've done this. We are going to have 2 new JPs. 3 new JPs. So, I mean, you know, it'll be nice to have them on call. I'm sure you're willing to be on call to answer questions. You know, they're going to have to come into their own as well, just like our JPs did when they took it over. So.
You're exactly right, and I appreciate that, because with what all of them have a law enforcement background. All 3 of them have a law enforcement background. But it is going to be, you're going right, because certainly since 10, we've all been doing this, except for one, since 10, and I promise you, in those 8 years, we've learned a lot.
And in my situation, I do all of it and hand it to you. I can't do the final report.
That's right.
And so it's still the burden on the justice of the peace.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I appreciate that, Ms. Kennedy, that you brought that up in the fact that we're going to go start with a whole new learning curve as January 1.
I thought you told me you were going to stay.
I am. But we still have 3 brand new ones that we're going to be working with.
Which, have you got the information on the new JP schools, Janice? We need to get that set up for them so we allow that in our planning for their orientation and stuff. Yes, you're absolutely right, because they are required, as I understand it, 80 hours. First one will begin in the second week of December, then the second week of January. They're required to be, I'm not sure if it's 30 hours, and then there'll be another one in March. So there's do we need to, doesn't the training center? The training center pay for that first 40-hour school? No, sir. The training center pays for nothing. What they do pay for is they pay for a half of a room rent, and they pay for, so if they choose to go with a roommate that's also going to school, then there's 0 cost. If they go and take care of their own, if they take a full room, then they'll only pay for half of it. So that's the only, and then they do provide, usually always they provide for breakfast, and they always provide for lunch. So that's only required the evening meal, and then sometimes. So mileage and maybe half a room and an evening meal. And that's right, for one meal. Of course, the travel, because it's always in Austin. Mileage. So it's a travel day, and then usually it's just a half of a travel day, and they don't pay it. They don't provide food that half a day. Okay. I've usually provided good breakfast. Is it done in Austin, or where is it? Always in Austin. Always in Austin. Okay. For the new judges, always in Austin. All right. Is there anything else I can answer for you? Is there any questions that you would have that I didn't address for you today? Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to present this to the Commission. Thank you for staying with us, too. Yeah. What's that? Thank you for staying with us, too. Okay, so this time next year, we'll be having a whole different conversation because of so many demons. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you. Do we need to come back for anything else on budget, or, y'all want to come back at 1:30?
Could we go ahead and if Nancy, it's not the one I sent you, that's, there is a later revised one that Jennifer and I worked on. But could I get y'all to respond to that draft with maybe the 5 important things you think that needs to have, so we can kind of build off of it? Do you want to come back at 1:30 and do that, or? Well, no, I'm just thinking, if you'll think this week on it, send it to me. I'll make changes in it.
I'll move to. PTO?
Yeah, just, you know, or just set out in bullet points the things that everybody recommended to do, with suggestions towards it. Even to the extent of scrapping it, or stay where you're at, or don't do anything, or do this, and this.
Okay. Is anything else we need to come back for this afternoon? Because other than that, I don't know of anything, and because the meetings, I think, are scheduled to start next week with departments, aren't they?
I've been about this week. I've already started some last
All
week.
right, I'm sorry, this week. But I don't know of any other thing you all mentioned, or I have on my mind, or anything else that we'd be saying to anybody in the way of budget planning. You know, the obvious statement is there anything you can cut out? That's great. But, you know, if they've got major capital expenses, we'd have to look at those and see how they fit in the plan. And I'm going to say, generally speaking, we're going to be pretty much flat in what we did last year in our budgets. And
Now, I did have this weekend thinking about it, Willie, and you can clarify for me. When we talked the other day about our surplus, and that we felt that we had stacked up good for the last go, or at least avoided deficit spending, is that taking into account capital expenditures that, for example, buying a truck for $80,000, but getting it bought in lieu of $80,000, getting the same $80,000 truck bought for $4,000 a month, and just counting 6 months of the $80,000?
It only counts what was actually expended during the year.
So do I say then that the $60,000, that if I only spent 20, I still bought a truck, but I only spent 20 of the 80, I put to the bank 60,000? Does that allow me to say that?
No, each year stands on its own.
He calculates it in each year spent.
Your
Well, what
2019 payments will be due in 2019.
Okay, but what my point is, though, if you told me, for example, last year, Jeff, you were over by $1 million, was any of that $1 million, if that was the case, and that's the example, if that was the case, was any of that due to capital not being spent but being financed in lieu of being spent?
Yeah. The revenue is booked when it comes in.
Okay.
So if you've got a loan for $200,000, the auditor books that as the lease purchase revenue.
Okay.
So, and then you, on the expenditure side, each year stands on its own. You spend, paying it back. So if you've got 100,000 of that's going to be a buyback, guaranteed buyback, then when you come to that third or fourth or fifth year, and that buyback comes into play, you either are going to have to refinance what's due, or pay it off.
And money in the budget.
Okay.
If you keep the truck, or whatever, piece of machine. Did I explain that correctly?
No,
Are we transferring funds into you're not taking the bulk amount and transferring that into interest and sinking, only the annual amount, is that correct? Is coming out of
only the
Road and
annual
Bridge
amount.
Fund, yeah.
I won't have to do CGR on.
The only fund we put in there that's is long-term is the parking garage balance that's in there. We transferred the full balance of that years ago into that.
Right, so that comes out of the fund balance in 301.
Yeah.
It is setting in there in
Yes,
full.
sir. Which the city is trying to proceed with due diligence on looking at that parking garage. Bless you.
Really? That's interesting.
Well, they're doing the city, well, they're doing that environmental thing, you know, that they ask you about getting access to it.
Right.
What is, and Devin May can expand on this a little bit because I didn't understand, Judge. There was an issue on my last guy that being audited because of their 4-day-a-week work schedule, that we paid, we were due some holiday pay that would have not normally been paid out the way it was paid out.
Yeah, you probably got 10 hours off instead of 8.
Yeah, I mean, what is that? I can't see that in my mind, though, what you're saying there. I wondered at that, but we don't pay 10 hours holiday.
Well, how do they make up the 2 other hours?
Well, see, what I'm saying is, though, you get 40 hours in 4 days, then how do you get compensated for Friday being a holiday? If Monday through Friday.
If a holiday falls on your day off, that's life. Why do we have to pay it?
Well, look, I guess we are
We get
paying it, though, right?
13 paid holidays. I mean, where I worked, if a holiday was on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, we didn't get paid for that.
Like, I never thought about that.
No,
ever.
but we pay that. That's the deal in the jail. That's where they would get 48 hours. But that Friday, if it, let's don't worry about that's a different pay period. But let's say there's a holiday, you work 4 10-hour days, the 5th day is a holiday. You get 8 hours just regular time added on. So you get paid for 48 hours that week would be the way that would work.
Should they record that?
Yes.
Karen, when they turn in a timesheet, should it show 48 hours in that instant?
Yeah, well.
Because I don't think people realize to do that. I mean, I think
Well,
we
no,
catch
most
it on
people don't
time.
work that 4 days
Schedule.
like that.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to worry about that because most people work 7 days, 8 hours.
Yeah.
But that would be true because he worked the 40,
Yeah.
but he gets the 8 hour holiday.
Yeah, and see, that's some of what
But
Corey
that's-
had to audit
Yeah.
was because of that right there. And I had never
Well-
even thought about that before.
Most people don't work those 4 10s. That's very rare.
But that 48 hours is all straight time though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Are y'all going to do any of that 10-hour stuff, Barry or Lee or Mark?
We don't do 10 hours.
We do. We are on 410s right now.
You're already on it, Mark?
We do as needed.
Oh, you change back and forth?
Yeah, we just, whatever is needed for the schedule for that week.
We had some people ran the 410s into like October. That's not too smart.
It should end when time changes, shouldn't it?
Well, it's when the sun goes down at 5:30, 6 o'clock,
That's
you're
when
still paying
time
people, that's
changes, though.
stupid.
Yeah.
No, that's when time changes though, right?
Yeah, that's why we
Well,
did
that
it.
time's gotten a lot, you know, you got a couple extra months now added on to that. So back to managing your personnel, you know. They might come in when it's dark, check their truck, get it ready, and go, but that needs to be within the time. It's going to be light by the time they get the job, not sit there and
Right.
eat ding-dongs and drink coffee.
They do that whether the sun's up or not.
Yeah. All right, anything else? Do you want to throw in, I did receive a letter, and I don't know whether you all did, but Chief Rodney Riles is still the Burke Burnett Fire Chief, but he is no longer the head of the Wichita County Rural Fire Department. He did that for 8 or 9 years, and it was decided that maybe somebody else ought to have that opportunity. Second thing is this Saturday, some of us are involved in the Nortex car show from 10:30 to 11:30 on Saturday. Be some great cars in that. There'll be hot dogs that Donald Farmer will be cooking and selling for, I don't know, water donations or something or other, but it's always a good car show. I don't know who all's involved out of us in the judging of that.
It's hard to judge some of those cars or pick between. That's hard.
Well, yeah.
You gotta, man, they're both just immaculate and beautiful, and they're both the color you like, and it's like, and some of those cars are absolutely restored. You open a trunk, and the trunk, the mat in the back of the trunk, they ordered that sucker somewhere. This is original style mat and stuff for it. It has the writing in it. Barry taught me a lot about, look, see them wheels?
They need some better judging forms, would make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, you can get those little spinner deals that are numbered from 0 through 10.
Yeah.
And if I don't know, I just spin that.
Oh, Judge.
When are y'all talking about maybe the tractor deal?
Don't know.
No, we just thought that'd be a great idea.
Summertime thing?
Fall would be good too. Just something we're kicking around.
But that deal does benefit the matching funds for the senior citizens meals for the Nortex region. Okay. Okay, and then y'all are Thursday, some of y'all are gonna go to the luncheon they're having. I've got Nortex that day, and
Guess we're all going on.
I can't miss that meeting. We've got a protest on one of the awards made.
Really?
On the scoring and how it was done. Didn't follow the rules correctly. I need to be there to try to make a motion to make my other buddies understand that was not done by the rules and needs to be redone.
It's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
Yep. Okay. It is 11:59 and we're adjourned. We do have a meeting Friday.